I think for me, I've always had a really, really strong faith and felt that I did have a calling, but considered that I already had a career that was the way I was going, my pathway. And I've been an assistant head teacher in a school for a very long time. And then our son died, and that was a really difficult period. But I think during that period, I then found the strength in God and my faith to realise that actually there was that was really kind of the way forward for me. And then during that period, I realised that actually the strength that I got from my faith and kind of what that taught me as a Christian and what that taught me I could then do for other people and accompanying other people was really the start of the pathway. And that's why I then went through the discernment process. Initially, I didn't choose St Hild. I'm actually from the Manchester diocese, and I think automatically you tend to go to other theological colleges. And it was purely because I needed to take time out of my full-time employment that I wasn't able to do, that I then was kind of signposted to St Hild as a possibility. And for me, it was absolutely meant to be, because then when I then literally walked through the door, I felt completely at home. And I've never really changed from that. I've always felt really comfortable and like it was meant to be the place where I was meant to study. I think spiritually, the minute I opened my car door, I really felt like it was the place where I belonged. And even on a Wednesday evening when I've travelled to St Hild and I have a really, really busy job, I feel like as I drive along the motorway, that kind of stress and worry and chaos of everyday life disappears. And Mirfield does feel like coming home. So St Hild certainly is a place where I felt really connected. I think initially, because of the tradition that I was in and the kind of parish setting I'd always been in, I had not really experienced a lot of different kinds of traditions, and I think when I first started that was something I really learned to embrace. But the good thing about St Hild is it's very diverse and there's a whole range of tradition. So although I was very much comfortable in my own tradition, I've learned to be much, to understand and appreciate lots of other traditions. And I think it's done in a very really kind of sensitive way. And sometimes people find that a bit more difficult, and there's a lot of support there from staff to let people understand that there is different traditions amongst us and different beliefs. I also think during times when I have literally had a really, really, really hectic day or safeguarding issue or whatever, and I've driven to college and I can walk in and a member of staff will kind of say, come with me, let's have a cup of tea, let's talk about it. And I think those kind of things for me are really important, because that the emotional intelligence and staff that kind of recognise that actually we're all people in our own right and we all have our own employment and baggage from home and different things that we kind of take with us. I think that kind of insight into how we are as people is really important, and for me that's been absolutely crucial. So I think anybody who's considering going through discernment or theological training, I think there's a real sense when you, particularly even when you've gone through the kind of stage 1, stage 2 process, there's always still a feeling, am I worthy for this? And I think during that period of tutors talk about formation, and you're never quite sure what a formation is when you first arrive, but by the time you get to the end of, certainly for me as a third year, I can see and feel the difference between when I started and how I finished. And I couldn't probably put my finger and describe what that is, but actually it is that feeling of being somewhere where you can find where you fit. And so my advice would be to come along, to see how it feels and see whether it's somewhere that spiritually feeds you and how you kind of fit in the community. The community is very welcoming and very we're very sensitive and loving to each other, and I think you get a real sense of that. So my advice is, if you're hesitant or reluctant, one, to think about the discernment process or go apply for a theological college, or two, where to go. You need to kind of find where is right for you and where you feel most comfortable, and God will obviously make that decision for you, but I think you have to be open to that as well.